My name is Sean Thomas, and I'm the author of Be More Today, a 40-day guide to a better version of you. As doctor of physical therapy, I've seen thousands of people do great things. They came to me with ailments, physical ailments, pain, issues, and they got through them, all because they decided in their mind they were going to do it. And I guarantee you, if you just trust the process and be persistent, you too can be the best version of you.
Welcome to the Be More Today show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our show today. Now, let's hear it from our host, Dr. Sean Thomas.
What's going on, folks? What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Be More Today show. We are back in the building for season number 7 of the Be More Today show. We are here and ready to be in 2026. Happy New Year to each and every last one of you. It's been a blessing to be alive in this new year. And the theme for this year has been for us to nix and fix in 2026. That's right, folks. We're trying to nix and fix a lot of things in our lives, trying to start new things and stop old things in this year. So whatever you want to do this year, let's make sure we nix and fix certain things to be better and to be more today. As you already know, Be More Today is a movement. We are out there and doing great things in the community. Our More merch store is still open, BeMoreToday.com. My book is still out there, Be More Today. My first book and my second book, Project More, is out there and going well. I've been doing a lot of tours with schools and various churches, and my clients and patients, they are loving the Project More journey. So if you want more information about that, check out BeMoreToday.com or email me at info@BeMoreToday.com for all those things related to being more. You will not be disappointed. Our guests on the show continue to grow. The show is now heard in 98 countries, over 78,000 downloads. So again, thank you so much for your love and support. It does not and never goes unnoticed. Our sponsors continue to be here for this new year, 2026. Spy Belt, the best running belt in the business, folks. As I train for the Boston Marathon this year, I'm rocking Spy Belts all the time. Kim and her team has a great product and do a great job of putting that product out there for all to use. Various colors, various styles. If you want more information about the Spy Belt products, visit spybelt.com and go out there and check out your running belt or even your regular gear belt. You can wear them around casually as well. They are a great product. And our JAG Physical Therapy sponsor, again, the best PT company in the Northeast, John Gallucci and our team do a great job to make sure people are going out there and getting back to the life that they truly love. So if you're looking for a PT provider, an OT provider, athletic training, all those different things, check out jagpt.com and see us for an appointment anywhere in New York, Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And of course, our monthly patrons, thanks so much for being a part of the Be More Today show. It never goes unnoticed. Folks, I am running the Boston Marathon this year, my final marathon for my life. No one believes me, but it's going to be my last marathon ever. It's my 6th marathon for the World Majors, my 10th marathon total, and I'm running with a group called Stride for Stride, which I'm going to have on the show later this month. But Stride for Stride, for those who don't know, is a nonprofit running company or organization that buys race bids for immigrant, BIPOC, and low-income runners. Their goal is to make races more accessible for all, no matter where they come from, and to get people to the starting line. You know what happens when you run a race? You get more confidence. You build more self-esteem. It's great for your body physically and mentally. And people who can't afford to do those things have a chance to do that with Stride for Stride. So I'm running Boston this year. There's a link in the show notes if you want to give to that Boston charity. I am trying to raise $9,500 by the middle of April, and we have a deadline of $4,500 for the 1st of February, and we're almost there. So if you want to be a part of that, please see the show links and give if you want. Again, my heart is always filled and it never goes unnoticed. Our quote for today is simple as always. We can't heal the world today, but we can begin with a voice of compassion, a heart of love, and an act of kindness, by Mary Davis. This has been a year, folks, where I have been fixated on trying to help others. And as we all start 2026, it's a time where we can really come together and just see where we are, see the blessings that we've been given. Although we may have some problems that ended in 2025. Some of those carried into the new year. And we're trying to make sure we're just still grateful for the things that we do have, for the grace and the mercy that continues to be put upon us. And us as human beings, humanity has gone through a number of changes in the last year and continues to go through changes around the world. So, one of the things that is really important for us to remember is that we can heal the world today. We can begin with a voice of compassion, a heart of love, and small acts of kindness. And that can be anything that's happening to you on a regular basis. I think these things go unnoticed sometimes in big cities like New York, but they do happen all the time. And I wanted to make sure that I highlighted these things more this year. Because if you're watching the news, if you're reading the newspaper, sometimes you get so bogged down or boggled down by all the things that you're seeing, which are sometimes negative. We forget that there are great things that are happening that are actually very, very kind, and people are being touched in many, many ways. And I thought to myself, who can I bring on the show to kick off season number 7? As we talk about acts of kindness and things that are happening in great places. And the first name that came to my mind is an old friend of mine who is now a big time name around the world. His name is Pastor Daniel Hall. Now, Daniel Hall was born in the beautiful city of Brooklyn, New York. At the age of 15, Daniel became involved with various ministry opportunities across the state of New York. And in 2011, Pastor Hall accepted the call from Christ to engage in full-time gospel ministry. Without hesitation, he enrolled in Oakwood University, OU, in Huntsville, Alabama. During his tenure, Pastor Hall served as campus Adventist Youth Ministries leader and guided the spiritual temperature of his colleagues. Upon completing his studies at Oakwood University, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in theology in 2016. Thereafter, he realized his specific passion in ministry is evangelism. And in August 2016, he enrolled at Andrews University in Michigan to pursue his Master's of Divinity degree. In 2018, Pastor Hall completed the requirements for his Master of Divinity degree and accepted the call to join the South Atlantic Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. In 2020, September 20th, he proudly tied the knot with his best friend, his soulmate, and the former Shatika Lee. She is an immigration officer with the United States federal government and works alongside her husband to further God's kingdom on this earth. Pastor Hall served as the associate pastor of the West End Seventh-day Adventist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. Until recently, he was serving as a pastor of the Mount Olive and New Life SDA churches in Marion and Lake City, South Carolina. And during his tenure at the Mount Olive SDA Church, he birthed an initiative evangelistically called the Compassion Project. After the success of this innovative evangelistic idea, Pastor Hall has been invited to implement the Compassion Project all over the country. To the glory of God, this model has resulted in over 500 baptisms within the church. And in August 2023, he did it again. At his current church, the New Life SCA, he once again implemented the Evangelistic Compassion Project, and as a result, 81 souls gave their lives to Christ. In 2024, he was installed and began at a new church, Columbia Ephesus Church, in Columbia, South Carolina. And I have this man on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage my good friend and the guy who, I'm going to say it, I used to play basketball with this guy and used to tear him up. Our pastor, Pastor Daniel Hall. Pastor, what is going on?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on, Sean. I feel like this is a full circle moment because a lot of the things that I have done started with a conversation that we used to have when I was, 15, 16? And it is amazing to see how God has birthed those conversations into reality. So anyway, excited, happy to be on, ready to tell it all.
Awesome. Listen, Pastor Hall, I appreciate you so much. We haven't really had a chance to connect. You've been busy. I've been busy. We've been seeing each other kind of going back and forth over the years.
Yeah.
And many may not know, like you said, when you were 15, you and I used to travel a lot. I came to your church, and I'll say that. The church I go to now is your church, Kingsborough Temple. I came there, and we connected through basketball. And we played basketball a lot. Danny, and you were amazing at it. I could not guard you. I'm not going to lie, but I tried my best. But we had some fun times. And then you and I traveled upstate to my mom's house
Yes.
and would play basketball with the youth up there, and
Yeah.
traveling around with me with youth ministries and whatever else.
Yeah.
I just love those times together. We always talk about those hubcap days, me,
Agree.
you, and Pi, and walking around and
Yeah.
just really ministering with people all over. It was a fun, enjoyable time at the convention, all those different things.
Of course.
And it's just great to see your progression. I want to just give you your flowers now and just say it's amazing to see the growth that I've seen from the bleachers, watching you continue to go from one thing to another, from graduating from Oakwood to getting your master's and doing so many things to touch others. I'm very, very proud of you, sir. And it's a blessing to have you on the show today.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the accolades that you have, told us about. But let me just say this, Sean. I have to also say thank you for giving me the opportunity to go beyond Kingsborough and see ministry in a different context. Because, and I'm going to share this with you today. My whole life, I grew up in Kingsborough. So I thought that every church in America was like Kingsborough. I thought every church was like, 200 to 300 people every Sabbath morning, great music, phenomenal preaching. And it was you taking me up to Hubcap and upstate, helped me just kind of develop a love and passion for ministry beyond the Kingsborough walls. So anyway, anything that I have, it is because of you. And I appreciate you for exposing me to ministry on a larger level.
I appreciate you sharing that, sir. And it's funny. I thought about you the other day. I was like, man, Danny Hall is doing this thing. I was trying to remember. Pi and I were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
We brought you up to Newburgh to do a youth day with them,
Yeah.
and you were the speaker.
Yeah.
And I remember, Pastor Hall, I'm going to say this to all your fellows right now.
Wow, great.
You gave probably the shortest sermon I have ever heard in my entire life. I don't know what you preached about, but it was great. But it was probably about 7 minutes.
Yes, indeed.
And I was like, yo. What?
And the thing that was crazy, Sean, is I thought I killed it that day. Okay, I thought I got that sermon out in 7 minutes, and I thought that I was the king because I did something that no one else was able to do: preach a powerful and dynamic sermon in 7 minutes. Nevertheless, I've grown, but it's just so funny how now that you're saying it, it's like in my mind back then, I was like, man, I killed it.
Yeah,
and I had so much growing to do, but nevertheless, yes.
But I only share that not to say anything bad about it. I say it because to see the growth of you from then to now.
Yeah,
Pastor, my heart is warm. Like I'm really, really happy for all that you've done and continue to do in the name of helping young people. And in the name of just being completely transparent and open and sharing the ministry that God has put on your heart. So again, I'm very, very grateful to have you on. And I miss the days we traveled together, but I'm happy that you're continuing to grow and do your thing. And I want to just chop it up and get into it right now. Listen, you've been doing some great stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to talk about as we talk about compassion, as you know, this world is a very, very crazy place. And whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe in Christianity or believe in God or not, I think everyone is very much aware that our world is a place that sometimes feels unsafe.
Yes.
And it's a place that sometimes lacks compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of wanted to get into with you about why this compassion project has been so important to you, where it came from, and what have been some of the challenges and even some of the blessings that have come about with you doing it around the country.
Definitely. Hey, I tell people this all the time, Sean, and I'll say this to you and all those who are out there. The reason I started the Compassion Project is because the one place in the world that is supposed to be known for being the kindest, the warmest, and the most gentle is the one place right now in the world that's known for being the meanest. And that is the church. And we had this conversation over and over again. I remember back in the days in the green Jeep Cherokee.
Yes, sir.
We would talk about this idea, and Sean, I've always had a passion for this church, but I remember when I was in my first district, I was in Family Dollar. I remember I was at my church back then in Marion, South Carolina, Mount Olive Church. I remember I was in Family Dollar. I was getting something, and a lady came up to me and said, "Hey, you are the pastor at that church, at that Seventh-day Adventist church down the street."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and I said yes. And she said, I used to go to your church years ago, but when I had my son, they kicked me out, and I never went back again. And so what that told me is that, and I'm not talking about any church, I'm talking about just our church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not that people don't want to engage with our church. What they're looking for inside of our walls is warmth, compassion, grace, but most importantly, love.
Yeah.
And that is not something that we've been exuberating to the world for a while. So I said I wanted to come up with an initiative that would flip that whole, our whole, I guess you could say, reputation upside down.
Yeah.
All right. So that we could find a way to start reaching people where they are. All right. Because I'm realizing, my generation, Generation Z, and now Generation Alpha that's coming behind them,
Mm-hmm.
they want to engage with church. You know what I mean? I know that they've left the church and but they want to engage in church. But if you look at the numbers, the statistics, the surveys, they're saying we want to engage with a church that is compassionate, loving, and warm. And so this initiative was birthed to help flip the narrative about our churches.
I love it. And, I've been watching from afar on Facebook, and I've seen you do a number of things for communities. Can you just share with the listeners what some of the things that you've done? We talked about the people who came to your churches as a result of what was done, but I don't think listeners know exactly what was the compassion that was shared. What ideas, what things, what initiatives were actually done for the communities, and how did you connect with those communities in the various places that you've been in ministry with?
Great. I'll start by saying this. The Compassion Project came from an idea that took place at my church. My church in Marion, South Carolina, was a small church. We had only about 8 members, was pretty much empty Sabbath after Sabbath. And I remember that they had this food pantry initiative that every Wednesday they would give out hundreds of bags of food to the people in the community, and many people would line up 3-4 hours before the doors even opened and wrapped all around the street, just waiting to receive a bag of groceries from us. And in the back of my mind, I said to myself, what would make someone get out of their bed, stand in a line of 100 people for just for some vegetables, canned food, meat, you know what I mean? And some other supplies. And I said to myself, these people are in need. And so I looked and I said, well, what if instead of us just giving them food, like what if we could actually find other needs and do like a food pantry style ministry? So instead of them just coming for food, okay, they come to our church for food on Wednesday,
right.
But on Thursday, maybe, hey, if they have kids, they need diapers, come to my church for diapers.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have kids and they need sneakers, on Friday, come to our church for sneakers.
Yeah.
All right. On Sunday, if your kid needs clothes, come to our church. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to start a food pantry type ministry where we gave away different things in the community that people actually needed. And when we did that, our church took off in the community because for the first time ever, this little Seventh-day Adventist church was actually meeting the needs of the people in that area. And people started to tell their friends, their family about who we were, and the Compassion Project was born.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, question for you.
Sure.
What you're saying is not rocket science, right? It's not like, people need things, let's give them things. Like, it's not like a new idea, but it is innovative in the sense that it's not being done in certain situations, in certain groups, right? There are certain churches that do this very, very well.
Right.
But for whatever reason, certain denominations, and I'm going to include our denomination in this has not been a priority.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, why do you think it hasn't been a priority? And were there any challenges initially to you saying, hey, we're going to do this now, to people being like, yeah, we don't want to do that because it hasn't been done before?
The biggest challenge that I received was this. Why are we spending so much money on people who don't even come to our church and put back into the pot? That's it. That's the challenge, Sean. If I can be honest with you, that is the challenge. The mindset in most of our churches is that the money that we receive should go back to the people who are putting money into the pot. Mm-hmm. So we should be inward focused as opposed to spending so much money. So, to do a compassion project, it costs so much money because you're giving out so many things for free. Right. And so people are saying, well, why can't we take those same things and bless the people in our community? And I'm trying to get people to understand the reason why we exist is that we are supposed to go outside of our community and go into the world and spread the gospel and let people know Jesus is coming back by giving a portion of our money away to the people that need it the most. All right. Yeah. So just that mindset of trying to overcome, realize the money that we make is not for us, but it's for the people out there and taking it from there. Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead. I don't know.
No, go please.
All right. Number 2. When we were doing this every single day, I realized that there was a flaw in our system that we needed to fix. And this is what I realized, right? So when we were giving out the food each Wednesday, I noticed, I asked my elder a question. I said, Elder, you've been doing this for the last, 10 years? Within the last 10 years, how many people have been baptized as a result of this food pantry ministry? And he said, 0. And I said to myself, that's a problem. I'm going to tell you why. Here's what I believe fundamentally. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is not the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army gets federal funding to only give aid to the people within their community. Mm-hmm. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is privately funded, meaning that we take our money, we put it into a pot, and we distribute it to people. Yeah. Whenever we give something to the community, we have an obligation to not only help meet needs, but also to share what I call the 3 angels message, the gospel of Jesus Christ. So if we're only just giving out food, but we're not telling people that Jesus is coming again, then what's the whole point of the Seventh-day Adventist Church being open? Mm-hmm. We are open so that we can tell people Jesus is coming again. So I said, why don't we merge 2 ideas together? Instead of just giving out food and telling people goodbye, go home, I said, why don't we put together an innovative, inspirational service? And so for 1 hour, what we will do is, we'll invite everybody and say, hey, come on in. We're going to give away diapers, but we put on the advertisement. Before you get diapers, we're going to have a 60-minute inspirational service where we're just simply going to sing, we're going to pray, and we're going to give a short inspirational thought and then let you get your food. Okay. And when I first did it, the church was packed of people who were clapping, people on their feet who were singing, people who were just enjoying the word. Mm. Then we gave away the food afterwards, and people would look forward to this service where we would just simply, it was like a praise party. We would say, come on in, 5 o'clock, we're giving away food. We would come on in at 4, 1 hour before, hear the word, sing, let's have a good time. And then we would give people an opportunity to receive Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And little by little, through that service, or through those services, my church began to grow. Why? Because we were meeting needs, and preaching the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is the simplest way in 2026 for churches to grow.
Yeah. And you know what, Pastor Hall, I'm thankful for you because you are a leader.
Praise the Lord.
I think there are many churches around that have people who may be doing this, or they, it's a one-off, right? We at our church we do something like this. We call it acts of kindness. We have Acts of Kindness Day, so we go out, we hit all the things, nursing home, God's Love We Deliver. We have a contact down the street that we go out and we actually serve with them for a certain time period, giving out food to their communities who come to them already. We don't have access for us to have a food pantry. So we help them with their food pantry. It's great. We do these things on a quarterly basis, right? And it's twofold. It helps us as humans remember how humble we need to be able to give back, right? So it's really for us, it's great, but it also allows us to connect with the community. But even with those things, four times a year, the other 48 weeks of the year, I'm always curious, what are we doing? What are we doing on these other weeks where we're just feeding ourselves, and then going out into the world and maybe sharing that with someone during the week, but then again coming back the next weekend and feeding ourselves some more. Like you're saying, if the ministry of the gospel or the gospel message is for us to go out there and preach the word to all those who need to hear, what have we been doing for the last 2,000 almost 3,000 years of life? I think that it does come down to us, like you're saying, being intentional, knowing our communities and going out there and filling the need where the need needs to be provided. And I'm just grateful that you're doing that. Everywhere you've gone, you've done that. It wasn't like you did it in one place. You're like, oh, we did that. Good. Great. You're taking this thing now on the road and doing it in various places.
Agreed.
And my question for you is, have you seen your colleagues or even other denominations that are not in our denomination do the same thing in those same areas? And if so, let me know. And if not, let me know. I'm just curious.
John, last year, 154 churches across the United States did the Compassion Project at least one time.
Wow.
And this thing has taken off. It's like a phenomenon all over the country. Why? Because it just makes practical sense.
Yeah.
Right? Why are we here? We're here to meet the needs of the people in our community. And so I've been able to take this to California. I've taken this to Nevada. This has happened in Texas. This has happened all over the country. And people have been calling me, asking me to come in and explain this concept. Because the concept is really simple, Sean. I'm telling you, it's simple. You just find the need in your community and preach the gospel. And I just want to say this, Sean. I know I've been a part of Kingsborough. I've been a part of several churches, and they do something very well. And I won't knock them for it. Every church in America wants to meet a need. So they'll open a food pantry ministry, or they will open a clothes giveaway or a clothes ministry or something where they'll give it away. But what I'm saying is that just giving away those items are not enough.
Right.
We need to find a way to connect the gospel to the items that we give away. And that's a little harder sometimes, but that's what we need to do. Why? Because after the food is gone and after the clothes is worn, they are still in need of something.
Yeah.
There's still a hole. There's still a hole. And it's shame on us if we only give them temporary food, but don't introduce them to the everlasting food. All right. So combining those two things together is what has really allowed the Compassion Project to go to the next level. Number two, it is something that has allowed us to grow. It is a strategy that has allowed churches to grow all over the country. Why? Because when you meet people's needs, they will follow you to the end of the earth. So anyway, all over the country, in terms of other denomination, yes, there are other denominations that have been calling and flying me out and saying, please teach our church this strategy because it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, praise the Lord.
I'm curious. So you're doing this in various places, and I know that it's been a blessing to many. And I'm just curious: have the members in your churches have they been helpful in terms of orchestrating and um, doing the actual work for these compassion projects? I know sometimes, there might be an idea, and you may have the same 10 people who are like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're on board." Whereas, like the 20 others who are like, "Yeah, not my cup of tea. I'll
Yeah,
I'll come here the next time when you guys are not doing this." Has
right.
there been an overwhelming unified front in the
No.
places that you've been going to see that everyone's on board, or has it been like a couple of some small people who are like, "Yeah, you know what? I believe in this. I got your back. Let's do it." What's been that experience for you?
At first, when I explained the concept and the philosophy of the Compassion Project, people are super excited because it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You meet needs and you preach the gospel. It just makes sense. But the practicality, like whenever the Compassion Project comes to most churches and you have to deal with the frustration of dealing with just people, that
Mm.
is when people get frustrated. And I'm going to tell you
Mm.
why. It's simple, man. It's simple why. It's like when you do, and man, I wasn't planning on saying this, but I have to say this. What I'm learning in the 7-day Advent, and the 7 Adventist church is this: most people don't have a problem with people who have money, people who are educated,
Mm.
people who are well-to-do coming into our church. They don't mind the educated. They don't mind people who have money. But when it comes to people that are I'll call it in need, people who are from the lower echelon, people who are just the blue collar worker from day to day who don't know how to wear a full suit.
Mm-hmm.
They come in with their bonnets on, and they come in
Mm-hmm.
with their tank tops and their flip
Mm.
flops.
Mm.
It's like when it's time to do real ministry to people that are hurting, that is when most churches are like, okay, I didn't sign up for this part of the ministry. I
Mm.
just wanted to give and go. So, and what I'm trying to say to you is this is why for so long at our churches, we have these food pantry ministries, because our church don't mind giving and going. But when
Right.
it comes to actually having them stay and be a part of your church and discipling these individuals, they don't really want to do it. And
Yeah.
that's the reality. And that's the reality. I've learned it's a hard reality, but again, it takes more, it takes more energy. It takes more resources. It takes more involvement to disciple people who are not from the upper class, highly educated, than it is for somebody from that caliber. And I'm saying our church won't grow until we get past
Mm.
mindset
Mm.
dealing with. Okay.
I completely agree with you on that, and it saddens me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you, because all my life I grew up with the concept that Christianity is for everyone.
Yeah.
And that none of us are all that. Right? We all got issues. We all filthy
Yes.
rags on our best day. Right? All that kind of stuff. So the concept of humility for me has always been like one of, yeah, well, we're Christian. We're supposed to be the ones who, take the higher road. We're supposed to be the ones who first shall be last shall be first. All those different things. So when I see those different things happening in our churches, and there's any sense of entitlement, any sense
Yeah.
of I'm better than, then I'm like, well, is this really Christianity at all? Like, what are we even doing? If
Yeah.
there's any kind of I'm better than you in any regard, we're all even on our best days, right?
Yes.
So the Compassion Project for me is like, oh yeah, no brainer. Why
Right.
aren't we all doing it? And
Right.
and the fact that you're saying that there are still some that you've seen that are like, yeah, not willing to connect with that person because of this, that reminds me of just the emotional intelligence that we lack sometimes in our congregations,
Yeah.
the lack of remembrance of where we used to be,
Yes.
right, before we even came, or even while we are now, that
Yes.
we're not even saying, and not being able to translate where we have been to where someone who in front of us may be and could not be if we just share with them our experiences. That to me is something that, every church, and especially young people, as you talked about valuing young people see that and they say, you know what, if we can't be able to at least verbalize that, the
Yeah.
truth and reality of what's happening in our real worlds, and be able to
Mhm.
help people, then why do I want to be here? My daughter Sonali, right, 10 years old, she
Yeah.
has the biggest heart.
Yeah.
Anyone we see on the train, and you're a Brooklyn boy, so you know what's going
Yeah.
on. There are people on the train all the time who are always needing things. She's
Yeah.
like, Daddy, you have $1? Daddy, you have $2? Daddy, you have
Yes.
$3? And
Yes.
whatever I have, I always give to her, and she'll go over and
Yes.
give it to that person. She is
Yes.
already looking to make sure there's someone in need.
Oh, yeah.
Let's help that person in need. It's an
Indeed.
innate response for her.
I
And my
love it.
wife and I kind of ingrained that in her because of the work that we both do in our
Of course.
collective works. But it's something that she now inherently knows. We have to give to those who are in need.
That's
My
it.
question for you, sir, is why isn't that concept as innate in our
Yeah.
churches as Christians? Because the Christian walk is supposed to be for us to go out there and preach the word of the gospel, help those who are in need, feed those who are hungry, give drink to those who need drink. Why isn't that the basis of what we're doing, as opposed to all the other things that become the majors that we're minoring, or the minors that we're majoring in? Why is that? What are your thoughts?
Sean, it is because many of us has forgotten where we've come from. When most of our parents, grandparents came into this church, most of them were poor.
Mm,
They lived in the projects.
mm,
You know, when E.E. Cleveland put up his tent and came all across, America, our parents back then were in the projects. They were on food stamps. They were on WIC. They were on government assistance. Guess what happened? They joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and their kids went to Seventh-day Adventist school. Then what happened? Then they got to go to a Seventh-day Adventist college. And what happened? Slowly, as the generations went on, they got lifted out of poverty. All right. Then they got their big degrees. Then they got their big jobs all over America. Now they're part of the middle class, upper middle class. They got their jobs, and now they're so far removed from where their parents began that they forget that our church specializes in taking people from the projects and taking them all the way to becoming doctorate. You know what I mean? And it is something that takes time. However, it is something that we have to remember we all came from. And that's what kills me. You know what I mean? Like when my grandmother first joined this church, she was poor. She would walk to church with no shoes.
yeah.
And little by little, I went to school. And so it's us forgetting that the church has a responsibility to the poor. And I think that's very important, to the less than, the unfortunate, the people that do not have the resources to pull themselves up. We have a responsibility, and that is just to share the gospel without any type of prejudice, without any type of, opinion, and let the Lord lead them according to how he wants to lead them. And I've seen it with my own eyes. People who have joined this church through the Compassion Project, they came to church. They started coming to church every week. They started reading their Bible. They started putting their kids into Pathfinders. They got a nice job. And little by little, they send their kids away to college. And little by little, their economic system begins to increase, because when you put God first, he'll do it all for you. So I just think it's just us forgetting where we came from, where we all came from,
Yeah.
and how we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for someone in the church who gave us $10 for gas, someone in the church who gave us food when we didn't have any food, someone in the church that gave us a ride home because we didn't have a car. We forget those little bitty things is what's kept us in the church all these years.
Yeah, that's good talk right there. I looked at your bio, and you mentioned and you really mentioned also just the concept of value, and how you believe that having value is one of the things that can attract people to a church, and doing things of value for young people or children, and how that can also grow your church. And I'm looking around the country, and I'm looking at various congregations, and just seeing, even compared to the times when you and I were at Kingsborough years ago, and me at my mom's church upstate, that the number of young people, depending on the church, sometimes there are no young people in churches. Sometimes literally it's a church full of people who are 30 plus.
Yeah.
And sometimes even older than that. I used to go to a church when I was at Brown University. There was a church that was like Emmanuel SDA, and at that time there were probably about maybe 10 people in the congregation,
Yeah.
and the only people who were anywhere in their teens were me and my friend Chris, drove literally 30 minutes to get to this church on the Saturday to be in this congregation. But if you weren't there, there was no one who was under the age of 25 in those
Yeah.
buildings. So my question for you now is, as you continue to grow various churches and be in various churches and continue to lead in the pastoral role, what are some of the things, in addition to the Compassion Project, or I guess in continuation of it, that you're doing to, or had thoughts on doing, to increase the involvement, enrollment, and the membership of young people, especially in today's society when literally everything that we say, they can fact check. Everything that you see online on social media sometimes is real, not real with AI. I don't know what, they don't know what they're seeing out there. But when they see things in the church, they can see what's real and what's not. And I'm just curious, what are some of the things that you've done to increase the value so that young people can continue to be the present and the future of our churches?
When I was getting my master's degree, I had to do a paper on the company McDonald's. All right. And as I was doing my research, I came across this story about McDonald's that totally revolutionized my ministry. In 1978, McDonald's experienced one of its largest revenue decline in the company's history. The book said that other fast food restaurants were coming into the market, like Wendy's, Burger King. And that was the first time McDonald's had ever experienced real competition. So McDonald's hired this guy, this marketing genius by the name of Bob Bernstein. All right. And they said, Bob, your job is to come in and figure out a way how we can get our consumers back to McDonald's. He sat down with all the executives, and all the executives, they had all these fancy presentations for him. You're right. The way that we're going to get people back to McDonald's is that we're going to revolutionize our menu. Bob said, bad idea. He said, the way we're going to bring people back to McDonald's, we're going to modernize our restaurants and make them look newer. Bob said, bad idea. Somebody else said, okay, how about if we upgrade the parking lot? Will that make people come back to McDonald's? He said, bad idea. He said, if you ever want consumers to come back to your establishment, you have to ask yourself, what do consumers care about more than anything in the world? And somebody raised their hand and they said, they care about their kids. He said, bingo. He said, we need to find a way to create a product that will not only speak to the adults, but also make their children want to come to McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
You know what meal he created? That
Happy Meal.
There we go. The Happy
Meal.
Meal. Totally revolutionized McDonald's. And here's what he said. He said something that totally changed my ministry forever. He said the reason why he knew the Happy Meal was going to be a success is because in today's society, we no longer live in a world where it is the parents who tells the children what to do. He said, we now live in a world where it is the child who tells the parents what to do. So he said, in other words, he said, if we can find a way to get the child hooked on McDonald's, whether the parent want to come to McDonald's or not, they got it. I said, we need to do the same thing for our church. All right. I said, we got to do the same thing for our church. I said, because here is my philosophy. If a child wakes up on Sabbath morning and comes into their room and say, mommy, 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 I want to come to church. The parent is 10 times more likely to bring the child to church each Saturday.
Yeah.
So I said that we are doing it all wrong. We need to find a way to appeal to these children. And then if we win the child, they'll bring their families to church. If they bring their families to church, we don't just win the child, we win the whole family.
Yeah.
And so whenever I created the Compassion Project, I looked specifically for items. I looked specifically for the things that children needed and found a way to meet those needs. For example, diapers. Diapers are for babies. You know what I mean? And I said, man, but I said, if the kid needs this, the mother will come.
Yeah.
All right. Then I said, let's give away sneakers. Why? Because I realized that kids, their feet grows so fast. And so parents always need new sneakers because they get dirty. And so I said, why don't we just have a huge sneaker giveaway? All right. I said, clothes. And so I found these little things that children needed, and I created a whole brand around it. And the reason why at all of our compassion sites, there are so many families there is because we strategically go after the kids in order to win the whole family. And what happens is this, Sean, the kids come, they enjoy our children's church. They go back home. They tell their mother, mommy, I had such a good time. I want to go back. And they keep bringing their kids back. And before you know it, the kid says, I want to join this church. I want to be baptized. And this is how the Compassion Project grows so many churches all across the country. That one, if you win the child, you'll win the whole family.
Yeah, no, those are truest words I've heard all morning. You know, it's funny because I think about all of the kids movies I've seen in the last 10 years where, you know, Pixar and Disney, you know, they continue to make these movies that really appeal to children, but they're also big enough and content wise appropriate enough for adults to also be able to understand. But because the kids want to see them, we go. And you're right. So now he wants to go see whatever movie. We're going to go see that movie because she wants to see that. And we get a chance to enjoy that movie as well. But it really is catered towards the young people. And so, go ahead. Go.
So sorry to cut you off. Here's what I believe and here's what I see. If we want to grow most of our churches in the country, the one ministry that many of us need to start putting a greater focus on is children's ministry.
Right.
Because most parents with kids come to church for their kids. It's not even for them. And I've heard this over and over again, Sean. And this is what makes so much sense to me. I drive 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes across town to go to this church because they have an awesome children's program for my kids. And that is where I believe we're getting it all wrong. We're spending so much time with our worship, trying to make our worship amazing. We're spending so much time trying to make the production of our church amazing with the LED walls and, you know, with the great bands. And, you know, I'm trying not to go there, but I have to go there. You know what I mean? We're spending so much time trying to have the best preacher and preach and speaker come into our church, not realizing, Sean, that at the end of the day, people don't care about none of that.
Right.
What they're looking for is a place that will properly disciple their children.
Yeah.
And any church that realizes that will grow. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold 1 second. I have to go get my charger. Give me one second.
Problem. Yeah. I think one of the things that is interesting is because I'm looking at various churches and especially coming out of COVID-19, one of the main things that was cut from many church services was the children's story.
Yeah.
Children's story, children's church. Those were the first things to go.
Yep.
And I understand in terms of show, right? Because we want to cut that to make sure everyone's engaged and whatever else and have a separate time or no time for them, which has been many churches. But if you're talking about that's where most of the growth is happening, we're not giving the resources to those ministries. We're giving it, like you said, to everyone else. And that's something that we could definitely, and all churches should definitely be working on, especially for 2026. So I completely agree with you on that. Spot on. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I want to read something to you and I want to get your thoughts on it before we close out. First of all, I want to just say, you know, it's been amazing to see that you've been acknowledged by so many people for the Compassion Project and what you've been doing. I know you won the Evangelism Visionary Award about 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And that's awesome for me to see that your work has been acknowledged and appreciated by your colleagues and others.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a little passage that that came across my Instagram feed a couple of days ago, and I wanted just to read it and get your thoughts on it because
Yeah.
it's something that I think resonates with what we're talking about in the conversation. It says younger generations will reject shallow messages.
Yes.
They're done with motivational Christianity. They're asking, what does the Bible actually say?
Yeah.
And want to learn scripture within context. Community won't be a program anymore. It will be the point. Smaller rooms, shared lives, mutual responsibility.
Yes.
Attendance will matter less. Transformation will matter more. Church will stop counting heads and start asking who's actually being discipled.
Yeah.
The line between faith, Saturday or Sunday, and everyday life will disappear. Work, money, relationships, justice, culture, mission, discipleship will touch all of it, or it won't work. People won't be impressed by charisma. They'll be drawn to conviction.
Yeah.
Leaders who are formed will be great less than leaders who perform, and or greater than leaders who perform. And the last thing it says, the church that survives 2026 will be the church willing to lose comfort. Less polish, more prayer, less branding, more obedience. What are your thoughts on this little message that I saw? Because it hit me in various ways, just looking at the Compassion Project and looking at kindness for this year, but also just looking at comfort for me and us as leaders needing to be a little more uncomfortable to be able to, like you said, reach out to and touch those people who we forgot that we were.
Sean, people are tired of what I call event-based ministries, where we come to church to hear an awesome praise team, where we come to church to hear an awesome pastor, where we come to church for an amazing conference, but they are not being discipled. And let me just say this. The Seventh-day Adventist Church fundamentally has a discipleship problem, because the way that we disciple people is through indoctrination. We disciple people by saying, don't eat pork. We disciple people by saying, come to church on Saturday. We disciple people by saying, when you die, you stay in the grave and you don't go back up. You don't go to heaven until Jesus comes back. All of those things are what I call information. But the real question is, how do I read my Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I interpret the scriptures?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Moses said this, teach me how to exegete the text.
Mm-hmm.
The real question is, okay, what are we doing for the poor and those that are less fortunate than us?
Yeah.
Playtime is over. And I think that the younger generation is growing up and they're getting tired of the speaking in tongues. They're getting tired of the falling out on the floor, but there's no real change within their own lives. And what I've tried to do, with my little platform that I have, is to say, guys, if we keep on thinking that a good worship service is going to draw people here, but we're not building an intentional discipleship program within our churches for both children and adults, then we are going to continue to die. And I think about it, just last week at my church, we started a small groups ministry that was centered around teaching people how to read the Bible. And, so many people signed up. So many people signed up for this little small group ministry, just how to read the Bible, because I believe that people are ready for a more intimate, a more serious work. And I believe that the problem that we're having is that we're putting so much money into production at our church, so much money into the aesthetics of our church, the music at our church, the hype at our church, that we have totally missed the needs that this generation is asking from our church.
Mm-hmm.
Teach us the fundamental basics of God.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to go all over the world. I'm trying to tell people, listen, y'all, first of all, let's bring them in through love, not through Daniel Revelation, not through whether the Sabbath is on Saturday or Sunday, not through whether or not, when we die, where do we go? Just bring them in on love. And once we get them through the door, we're going to teach them all of those things, but make sure they understand who Jesus Christ is. They got to know who Jesus Christ is above the doctrines. They got to know that Jesus loves them. They got to know how to build an authentic and genuine relationship with him. They have to understand how to develop a successful prayer life, how to develop a prayer life that works, that wins. They need to know, what are we going to do to help those that are less fortunate around us? They got to know these things. They got to know what are the things that we're doing to help end poverty and homelessness. And I know we can't do it all alone, but what are the little things that we're trying to do? And I believe that church will attract people more than anything else would. So that's my goal.
Well said, sir. Well said, sir. Listen, any final thoughts you want to share with the listeners about the Compassion Project, about things that you're doing, about how they can reach and contact you if they want to reach out to you, and maybe they have questions about doing a Compassion Project in their own area? How can they reach you and talk to you about those things or otherwise?
Sure. Best way to reach me is Instagram, Facebook. All right. So my handler name on Instagram is Cedric Hall. That's Cedric with a K, Hall. And then my name on Facebook is just Daniel Hall. Text me, reach out to me. I would love to come and show you the blueprint that we with to grow churches all across the country. I think we baptized almost 2,000 souls last year, just using with the 150 projects that took place all across the country. And I want to show you not only how to baptize those people, but also how to retain those people in your church for years to come. So that's the goal. So anyway, thank you, Sean, for just first of all inspiring me at 15 years old to just want to even do ministry. And thank you for always affirming my ministry throughout the years. And I really appreciate it for this opportunity to share what God has placed on my heart. And I pray that this bless many of you.
Pastor Hall, Daniel Hall, I appreciate you so much. And again, just a round of applause for you. You're a gem, bro. It's amazing to see the progression, and I'm just excited that I'm anywhere in the part of your legacy right now. Really looking forward to you continuing to just show Christianity the way I think God really intended it for it to be, just pure love, and let the Holy Spirit do the rest of the work. Not for us to sit here and dictate what people should be eating and drinking, whatever else. But we're just letting God get into people's fundamental heart.
Yeah.
And letting God do the rest of the work, all inspired and pushed and comprised by love. So thank you so much, sir, for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great 2026.
Amen. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Folks, he says so many poignant things. And listen, what a great way to kick off 2026. Don't forget the quote from today. We can't heal the world today, but we can begin with a voice of compassion, a heart of love, and acts of kindness. If you do want to reach out to Pastor Hall, I'll put his contact again in the show notes. And if you're doing things in your own area, compassion-wise, go out there and make a difference in someone's life today. With the world being what it is, let's make this year 2026 one where we can, at least as human beings, be as human as possible, helping each other to be better every single day, to be more every single day, and to get through this thing called life. Thank you guys so much for being on the show today, and we'll see you next time. Peace.